brain is getting us ready for what's coming. They call it like the predicting brain. It's not about like running from the saber-toothed tiger or doing fight, flight, or freeze, or it's actually about just getting us ready for what's coming. And so it's reaching out into the environment, finding out what's there, putting that together into a map of how things are going, and then getting us ready for what's coming.
The Arts Council for Monterey County is here to invest in your creative future. If you're a student, your journey is just beginning. Apply now for college arts scholarships or raise your voice as the next Youth Poet Laureate. Honing your craft? The Arts Council for Monterey County offers individual artist grants and free BusinessWorks professional development workshops. From finding inspiration to building a career, the Arts Council for Monterey County is your creative partner. Learn more at arts4mc.org. That's arts4mc.org.
What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to Offline Expression. It is a beautiful day here in sunny Central California. Sorry to everyone else who's breathing. I'm Deb Enderscheid and we're back. We are here welcoming a wonderful guest. Mr. Steve Hoskinson is in the house. Steve, say hello to the people, please.
Hello, people. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Yeah, perfect, Steve. Look at that. That music, right? Get us all fired up. We're ready to go. We're putting the cape on. We're going to dance today. Steve, where are you coming from? We're coming from not just up the street from you, really. We're in Santa Cruz County, and so we are living the dream. That's right, man. I was just speaking to a guest from New York who is dealing with the cold, the snow, the sleet, and all that comes with it. And I am not jealous. Let's put it that way. I do have to say, though, I have to constantly tell myself, don't rub it in. I'm such a baby crying about, oh, it's 40 degrees. I'm so cold. And they're like, are you serious right now? That's right. Mean. And totally. I don't mean to be mean. I'm just like, I'm like a lizard on a rock. I'm made for the heat, I guess. So works for us. So welcome. We're in the same time zone. We're only a couple hours away from each other. If that, maybe. Actually, Santa Cruz County is pretty darn close to us. So glad to have you. I'm so glad you're here. I'm stoked too. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm excited to chat about the topics ahead and just appreciate the sort of the trailblazing that you're doing also, both in your educational work and here on Offline Expression. It's really something to behold. Thank you. Wow, thank you for that, man. I appreciate that. You know, it's so funny, just on a little side note here, let's go off script right away, shall we? Let's go on a tangent. I was watching, I don't watch the news very often anymore. I try to keep away from the screens as much as I can other than work-based stuff. But you know, every now and then I'll see a reel or something comes through the feed or whatever. And I didn't even know this was going on, but apparently in the last couple of weeks, there's been this huge trial, and there's been this doctor from Stanford that's testifying about different big tech companies and what social media is doing with our youth. And then there was somebody testifying to Congress about the same thing. And somebody told me about this and sent me this link and said, hey, I think you might like this. And I looked into it. And my response was so unprofessional in so many ways. I was like, yes, it's happening. It's finally happening. So I feel like I've been banging this drum for so long. Like, we got to watch out. There's something going on here. We got to really be careful. And sometimes that falls on deaf ears in the world because this is not the digital age of cell phones and screens and tablets and social media. It's not going anywhere, and it's socially acceptable. It's misunderstood in a lot of ways, but now we're starting to see some of that science. So I'm loving that people are joining us, are coming on the show and saying, hey, I think this is good, and then sharing their expertise. This is what's happened to me in my life and how I've worked through it. And that's really what it's about. It's about the things that we can all find in common and ways to help us build the resilience that we as human beings already have so that we can push through diversity and all that kind of adversity, push through all of that stuff. Yeah, adversity, that's the problem, right? Everything is adversity these days. We have to be ready because life doesn't slow down for us. We need everybody to be on the same page, even if the page is tilted like that, right?
Absolutely.
So, Steve, tell us what do you do? Why do you do it? Why is it important? All those things.
I am the founder of an organization called Organic Intelligence, and we are training coaches and we are providing resilience resources so that people can live a more whole and free life. And so that's our gig, and it's been something I've been doing for almost 30 years. And before that, I was really training in the trauma world. And so it was traveling internationally. So this link between, like understanding what trauma is and understanding addiction, it all lands squarely in the biology, in our physical system. And we train people to make changes there so that they can get free of whatever addictions they have and whatever sort of obstacles are in the way of them moving forward in their life.
Wow, that's a big calling. I'm glad that you're out there doing this work because, addictions used to be just linked to drugs and alcohol. And then there was a time when we got a little bit more understanding about, the horrors of the online world or things like inappropriate content or partners and things that we get ourselves into that are unhealthy, but people can't stop themselves from doing. And addiction kind of got a little bit more not big but broader, I would say, and we start to understand there's not just 5 or 6 things that chemically cause you to become addicted. Addiction is our brain. It's a part of us seeking out certain types of things to help us feel something, whether it's good or bad, depending on what it is. There's a lot of stuff going on underneath everything. So I'm so glad to know that you're out there working on that and working with people. So Organic Intelligence, where did this name come from?
The name is really looking at our innate healing capacity. We are leaning into the understanding that, for all of the problems that we're facing, that our own system has solutions. And we are simply helping people find the solutions, find the supports that are coming all the time. And it comes organically. It comes right out of our own biology. And there's some problems and obstacles that we'll talk about. But fundamentally, what we're missing is the solution that's already like right in front of us. And so that's what we're going to find out, is how to get access to the supports that are coming and how it's arising from each one of us. Our own system is made to be a self-healing system, and we just help people find that self-healing impulse.
Yes, I love that. And it's funny you say that because sometimes I'll be working with some kids and we'll be talking about how are you doing today? And I'm really tired, or I'm this, or I'm that. And one of the things I have to remind them, because we take this stuff for granted sometimes, it's just how strong our body is and what it can do. And, I tell them, you don't have to be a Marvel superhero to have superpowers. Okay. If you have ever, cut yourself on something and you scratch yourself and you're bleeding and then you put a Band-Aid on it and stuff, over the course of the next few days, your body's going to heal that. It's going to stop it. It's going to fix it. It's going to heal it back up for you and heal it on its own. Now, just because it doesn't happen in 5 seconds right afterwards does not mean we're not super cool like that. That is amazing stuff. And so finding the reality about what we are capable of versus what we don't even notice that we do all the time is a really important thing. You got to name it sometimes, and people just forget that we are very, very powerful in that regard. Our bodies are strong, and they do a lot for us all the time.
all the time. And what we hope to do is to provide some tools that just make that impulse more clear to ourselves, and then to make the support more obvious for people.
Absolutely. And okay, here's my $1,000,000 question right out of the gate. Okay. What comes first, that chicken or that egg, right? Is it the mind saying, "Hey, I look at all this great stuff my body is doing. Look at I need to give myself some grace here because I'm working through a lot and I'm juggling a lot of challenges and therefore I'm doing a pretty good job." And then the body goes, "Oh yeah, you heard him. We're doing a good job." Or is it, "I got to eat right, I got to exercise, I got to make sure I get enough sleep no matter what because otherwise then I'm in trouble if I don't and my mind can't keep up with the daily challenges and the stuff that I'm having to deal with."
Right, right, and that chicken or egg, like the mind-body interface, like what's first, and in a way, what we do is ask exactly that question because it's exactly the key question, and we bring them together. And so we are proposing like some strategies for using the mind and using perception in ways that give the body a lot of help and a lot of support. And so that's where we start, is the blending or the understanding that the mind and the body aren't actually separate in the end. They are experiences like that, but we're figuring out how they can really begin to work together.
Yes, that's exactly right. And it's funny because it's all about habits, right? You got to build a good habit. And habits can feel overwhelming sometimes because we are conditioned. By the time you get to the age when things really start to matter with what you put in your body or how you treat it, and by the time you get to the age where you fully understand the world around you and can make decisions when you're executive functioning and starting to do stuff, most of the things we need to do, we've already learned. So we either need to change some things, adjust and adapt some things, or full on learn brand new things. And that I think becomes the hard crux of it all, right?
Yes, it is. And the bridge that we build between those is that we need to learn some new things that we already know. And it's just
Mm.
sort of bringing them forward. And one of the main things of that is just a little bit of understanding about addiction in particular, that the fly in the ointment, or the problem for us as humans, actually is what scientists call the negativity bias. And you described it. You ask some kiddos how they're doing. It's like, "Oh, I'm really tired today," or, "Oh, I didn't do my homework, I'm going to get in trouble," or, it's problem focused. And our minds just go in that direction. We call it the what's wrong attention. And that feeds the body certain states that isn't really good nutrition. It's just what's wrong. And so understanding that, usually people think, okay, I've got to think better. I've got to clarify my mind. I've got to be more positive, which is all good stuff. But we have another idea. And that idea is actually that we are going to bring balance into our system, not by attending so much inside, like my thoughts, my feelings, my sensations, but by actually getting the attention outside. And so this is the big key, because recently neuroscience is really clear. The brain is getting us ready for what's coming. They call it like the predicting brain. It's not about like running from the saber-toothed tiger or doing fight, flight, or freeze, or it's actually about just getting us ready for what's coming. And so it's reaching out into the environment, finding out what's there, putting that together into a map of how things are going, and then getting us ready for what's coming. So if we were in New York in the blizzard right now and thinking about going outside, our brain would go, "Ooh, well, let's start shivering in advance." It actually amp up the metabolism to begin to get us a little warmer even before we step outside. And so if we are feeding the brain the reality of what's out there instead of the reality of what was past or what I'm afraid of in the future, and feed it the reality of what's here, connecting to the environment through the senses, we're helping the brain get us ready for what's right here, right now. It's part of why mindfulness works so well.
Oh my gosh. Yep. I mean, so many things that you just said are fodder, man. I want to just dive into every single one of those things, because first of all, the it's one thing to say something and it's one thing to do it, of course, and it's one thing to understand it and it's one thing to know it. There's two different things going on at all given points of the way the brain works. But one thing everyone can agree on is the brain is really, really powerful, and what we feed it and what we tell it and what we say to it matters in a way that most don't fully comprehend until you're older. And that biggest piece there is, how do we get outside of that? Our brain is so smart, we can trick it when knowing you're tricking it. That's how powerful it is. You can tell it something even when it doesn't feel like honest, and it'll buy it. It just doesn't understand that or care. It's, hey, if you don't feel good about yourself right now, you can tell yourself, I'm doing a really good job. I'm trying my best. I'm going to have a good day. I'm feeling positive about some of these things that are coming. And it'll just start to fuel that side, and it all of a sudden it becomes real. It's that law of attraction type of thing on the most finite sort of scale.
Yep.
And so I love that. And getting outside of it, I think that's a really good point, because oftentimes we're trapped in there. That's a loud voice that we never escape. It's always there, going with you everywhere you go. So sometimes looking up and going, it's a sunny day outside.
Yeah.
The heat on my skin feels really good. Those birds over there in that tree sound beautiful. Like, that's all external stuff, but acknowledging, like you said, that sensation and being able to place it and just name it so it's perceived in that way is really helpful. It slows things down in a real busy life.
And it's in a sense, it's wired in, it's built in, it's almost effortless, because the brain and the body are trying to locate itself in the here and now so that it can do its major job of prediction, getting us ready. And then when we feel ready for what's coming, that's a really good thing. So it's getting the attention outside into the environment. We could practice it. We could do a little exercise at some point if you wanted for your audience.
Oh yeah, why don't we do that? Go for it. What do you think?
I think right now, wherever you are, if you're, don't do anything unsafe, if you're driving or whatever, but wherever you are, then do this. And it begins with nothing. Don't do anything except just let your eyes free to go where they want to go. Like, let them free just to take a tour of where you're at right now, and just see what you see when you see what you see, and just notice. And there might be thoughts that come through like, oh, I see the computer screen or whatever, but then just come back to the seeing channel. Just go into the visual channel and just let that be the exploration, letting the eyes go where they want to go. And then when we do that, I often say, and when we do that, anything that's different now and how you feel compared to before we started, anything you notice.
Yeah, for me, I'd say that physically, my body, like, I just feel a little calm.
Calm. Yeah. Calm. And that's almost a universal report. People feel more calm. They feel more relaxed. They feel more present. Sometimes they feel like more awake, but relaxed. And it's just that we're giving the brain the food that it needs to help us feel okay about right here and right now. And that's so simple. I call it coming back to our senses. And it's just doing that with the eyes, the ears, and just whatever you got, the senses, the 5 senses.
That's right. Wow, that seems so simple. And yet, and having some sort of coaching direction on it is still so valuable. And that's why coaching is so important in our modern world, because we just constantly go. And like you said, the brain is always looking. It's constantly in this world of self-preservation, right? It needs to make sure we're safe all the time. Well, one of the things I tell my psych students is we live in a pretty safe time in history. I mean, not everywhere in the world, and I'm not trying to belittle anything that other people go through, but what I mean is 150 years ago, if you were living in a village on a mountainside, there was a lot you had to worry about. There's predators, there's bugs, where's your food coming from? Like, your brain is wired to go, we need to survive and we need to let our line continue. There's a reproductive instinct there that comes with that. Well, now, our brain's still doing that all the time, but there's not much to look for. It's like, okay, well, when did I turn the lights on? Did I turn the lights off? Did I grab a coat? Did I put my socks on correctly? Like, that's not high risk. Those are not the same aspect. So when people say things like, I'm tired or I'm this, that, and the other, it's like we're choosing to drain our own energy on things that are inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. And so it is important to reset. Like you said, look around, let your eyes find stuff. And one of the best things I hear from a lot of coaches these days is there's been a weird shift in where we can't let kids be bored. That is so not true. Kids should be bored sometimes. Being bored is when magic happens, when the brain does that resetting on its own. It causes you to have cognition.
Yeah, yeah, that respite, is really key, and so I love the sound of that in particular. Yep, we
Mhm.
love the easy does it approach around here.
Yeah, exactly. My mom used to say, "You're so easygoing." Like, well, what's the alternative? If I were so amped that I was going to be upset anytime something didn't go perfectly or my way or the way I had planned it, I think I'd probably be upset a lot. And I
Yeah.
don't want to be upset a lot. That doesn't sound fun at all. And I'd rather be like, oh, well, let's try that again and figure that out.
Yep. Yep, that's brilliant, and the resourcing that comes from that's such a wise strategy, and when we can apply it, and and you've been really clear. We don't want to suggest it's easy for everybody because we all know people for whom it's life is a challenge, and so
Hmm.
we're trying to create opportunities that everybody can use, and we like this orientation practice because it's sort of built in. It's what the brain wants to be doing, which is to map us in the here and now. And so we find also this other thing when we do that is that the natural resources, those balancing resources, begin to arise. So as we get orientation on board, then the system starts to present its self-balancing signals. And so we do that orientation, and then something different happens, like, oh, I notice my head is nodding up and down, or I notice that suddenly I begin to think about, yeah, that ice cream that I had yesterday was really good, or I just notice, well, the way the light shines off of that palm frond is just really beautiful, or the bird song, like you mentioned. And there are those kinds of signals, and they come out of our biology, and they are meant to bring us support. Like our system wants to be okay and wants us to feel okay. And with orientation, those kinds of supports come along, and then the practice begins, because then we've got to begin to practice taking them in or receiving the gifts that are coming all the time, like a gentle head nodding, or maybe you're rocking. Honestly, as an educator, because kids are doing these things that psychologists call self-soothing things that look like
Hmm.
are called nervous habits. But if
Hmm.
we were like, a kid is bouncing his knee up and down, on his foot, the almost restless leg looking thing. If
Right.
we're invited to enjoy that instead of stop doing that, or like if it were not called a nervous habit, he could find the pleasure of that, and it would send a completely different signal into his person. And so that's
Mm.
that's what we look for. As soon as we get orientation on board, those kinds of resources and supports that are organic, that some people would call like a negative or a nervous habit, they actually show themselves in the side of support. And that's something that we train our coaches to point out for people.
Yeah, I like that. In the world of theater arts, when I come across that, which is often, because like you said, working with students, you can see that kind of stuff all the time. Um, One of the things I try to do is shift the perspective of what that is into like that's raw energy. You have
Yeah.
so much energy, your body has to move. It wants to. You're just so strong that your body's like, I need to do something with this. So you're shaking your leg or you're moving your hands around and you're doing. So what if you were to harness that energy and focus it elsewhere? Could you try that? And so that's a different type of training, obviously, but that's when it's like, well, if you stood still and you used your facial expressions and your voice with that same energy, and instead of 10% going to your right foot, 10% going to your left foot, 10% coming to the fingers that are kind of nervously grabbing at each other, and you just put all of those right towards those, you'd be surprised how fast you can command an entire group of people with your nonverbal and verbal communication. So it's a powerful thing, like you said, reorienting yourself to your own body and to the external world around you. It makes a big difference. Now,
we
go ahead.
We have a lot of professional actors in our community, and they're doing exactly that. They're using that orientation so that they feel more settled. And then I think the intermediate step between like a nervous habit and then harnessing it is a feeling, is a sensation of enjoyment. And so we cultivate that feeling of enjoyment, like this wringing of the hands. It's like, can I find what really feels good about this? And when I do, that's when the energy comes into my system, and I'm like, okay, now I'm dressed up and ready to go. And that's an intermediate step, that enjoyment of it. Instead of, like being told, oh, it's a nervous habit, there's something wrong with it. We say, there's something really enjoyable about that.
Yeah.
What is it? And we open the exploration from there.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? Sometimes I'm working with people on stage and I'll say, at some point in here, you're going to stand up and you're going to go over to them. Now, I could tell you exactly what word to do it. I could direct you on that, but I'd rather it feel right to you. It should be, trust your instinct on it as you're speaking when you feel it. And it could be totally different depending on who it is. You wanted to stand there. I know I was supposed to stay sitting. No. If it felt natural and your instinct told you stand up, there's something there that's you, do it then. That's good because you needed to. And so you got to trust your instinct with that kind of movement because your body is telling you, this is when I feel passionate about doing that and going to them. When it's harnessed like that, that means like they're in control of it. Like you said, you're basically saying it feels good. It feels like the right time to do that movement versus nervously pacing. Okay, we need to break this down a little bit differently until we find it. But what a wonderful way to kind of explain that. So I guess where we're going to go. What we do on this show, the next step is asking the big question about the hindering, right? So if we know that our brain is wired to look for stuff and it's searching and it's scanning and it feels good to orient and get back to real sensation and perception.
Yep.
But then we stick this alternative form of that in front of our eyes.
Yep.
That has constant flashing light, movement, stories, sound, and fragmented attention pulls. How is that negating the natural healing that we were talking about at the beginning? What's happening there?
No, it's a great example of what we're looking for. When we're looking at a screen and there are all of the flashing lights, and all the images and all the sort of the interesting stuff that fragments our attention. There are two things that I think of. One is, first of all, the addictive quality of that relates right back to the what's wrong attention or the negativity bias, which is that, I have this thing in front of me and maybe I'm doom scrolling, and there is attraction to what's wrong and that just feeds it directly. Or maybe I see something fun or funny and it's, a cat video and then it's over and then it's gone. When it's gone, I'm missing it. And honestly, part of me probably knows I'm wasting my time anyway. It's like, how many cat videos do I need to see?
Right.
And so all of that is the movement from negative to positive, and that negative feeling, like a little bit of guilt because I am doom scrolling, a little bit of grief because I see this terrible story, but then I shift, I change the screen and then I get some relief. And that a relief, and the addiction to relief in the addiction world is called negative urgency, and the tendency to move out of, like what's uncomfortable amplifies the whole dynamic of addiction, which is called negative reinforcement. And negative reinforcement is simply that it goes from feeling bad to feeling good or better. And when you get that dynamic of it, it's like, oh, I'm having a craving in the substance world. Oh, there's this craving, and then I'm trying to resist it, and there's this conflict. No, I should call my sponsor, and then maybe the person uses or something, and then the conflict goes away. They're high, and they've just gone from craving to the loss of craving. And that's negative reinforcement. And it reinforces the condition that was just there, which is the addiction process. Same thing on screens. I'm seeing something that is, like doom scrolling. Oh, that's not bad. I shift the screen. Oh, and something is better. That's a micro moment of negative reinforcement, which just means I'm going to do the same thing over and over again. So we short circuit that by reducing the negative feedback, reducing the guilt, reducing the negative feedback by going, okay, so if I've got something here on the screen, if I can just put it down and get to something enjoyable in the outside world, we'll do that. That's not super common. If, on the other hand, I'm on the screen and I see something enjoyable, I simply take a moment that I'm enjoying, something that I'm laughing about, and then I enjoy that by maybe setting down the screen and just feeling the pleasure and then shifting from there. That is, a lot of us as parents, and I'm a parent, a lot of us parents are just like super concerned for good reason about the addiction, but the step isn't always just to lay down the hammer. There are alternative activities that might need this intermediate step, which is I'm looking at something on the screen and I then set it down so I can enjoy it more. The thing that I say about trauma is trauma means unintegrated resource, which means there's something there for us to cultivate and to feel. And if we can feel it, then we have a feeling of pleasure that's not related anymore to the device. I'm just going inside and I feel like a warmth in my chest, or I see the beauty of something outside, or I feel a certain vibration of energy in the arms and legs, and then I get motivated to take a walk and I feel better. All of a sudden, the enjoyment is self-generated and not from the outside anymore. So that's part of our strategy right there, incorporating the understanding of negative reinforcement in particular.
Oh man, so much good right there. Negative reinforcers in terms of operant conditioning is, it's the removal of something to increase probability of a certain desired outcome. And so a positive reinforcer is adding something that could help increase that probability. And then a negative reinforcer, people often get confused about the word negative and positive, thinking that negative is only one or the other. It's positive, or it's plus or minus, or good or bad.
Right.
And sometimes negative is removal. It's subtraction. And it just so happens that in these instances, a lot of times, that is, you're taking something unpleasant away.
Yes.
Right? And so that's a subtraction thing. Now, all of it in the world of positive and negative being good or bad, like that's different. That's not the same as addition and subtraction. And so sometimes people really get stuck on negative and positive. So I'm glad that you broke it down that way, because it's important. It makes a big difference. The other part of that is when you drop the hammer, like you said, with kids, and I made a lot of mistakes when I was my older kids, because I didn't know as much when I was younger, and now I know a lot more, and I tried better. But one thing I know there is irrefutable evidence about in terms of punishment and learning is that If you yell at somebody to not do something, that is not going to make them not do it because they haven't changed the internal attitude they have about it. What helps is communication and getting a new way. You have to supplement that thing with something else. You can't just take it away. You've got to replace, right? So if you're trying to quit smoking cigarettes, right? Or if you're trying to fast for a couple of days, you're taking some major part of your day out of it. And if you just don't do anything during that time, you are dwelling on that thing that you don't have. So you got to put something else in its place that now takes hold and can be a part of that positive solution as you move forward. It's important.
That's so beautiful. And cultivating, I mean, one of the things that we could cultivate, I think of this for your young actors too, but cultivating the ability to enjoy, to like savor, to feel the bodily sensation of pleasure is just underrepresented in the skill sets that we're offering our young people. Wholesome, like real bodily feeling of enjoyment, like the feeling of being alive is such a gift. It's so simple. And yet we have been so talked out of our body experience, and in education, as you know, it's often thought to be like, here's the facts, here's the information, that it's all headbound. What you're offering is people an experience. You're offering them relationship. You're offering compassion. It's a whole different order of the context of education rather than just thinking. So,
yeah, exactly. And, it's funny because we can get the hardest part about all this, in my opinion, is the fact that we now live in this place where, currency equals attention and engagement. So there are people out to get that from us. There are bad guys. Okay. That's the bottom line. They are trying to steal it and take it and get it. And they're doing a really good job because it's not somebody on the corner in a trench coat and that to stay away from. It's in your hand, in your pocket, and it's a constant scroll of all your other people that you know. And so that's working against us. And then the other part is because of how incredible and beautiful and amazing our technological advances are in the world, well, there's this expectation to be busy every second of every day, all day long. And like, if you're sitting there being bored, then you could be doing something. You could be learning something. You could be fixing something, cleaning something, going somewhere, making yourself smart. And people get caught up in that to where they have to be engaged and constantly at attention at the highest peak. Otherwise, they're failing somehow or not keeping up. And that is becoming a real big problem because that just feeds into the first point, which is the engagement and attention. People are missing the reality of putting things down for a while. And like you said, you can't feel your body and what it feels like to be happy or joyous or the warmth if you are giving that away every step of the way because you don't have time. And I'm guilty of this too because we all live in this world, right? It happens. Like the best of us, those of us that know it is happening can say it's happening to me too. That's why I know that people who do not have any idea about it, they're really going to struggle because I struggle. So you name it, man. You got to name it like that. And it's not, I know that seems easy sometimes when we make it sound like that, but that is the truth of it. I tell my college students, the word arousal has been warped. People hear the word arousal and they think of sexual stuff. They think of relationship. And I try to explain to them the word arousal is a set of emotional response to things. Babies become aroused. When they are hungry, they start kicking or they start crying and stuff. Or when a dog smells food, it starts to salivate and wiggle and stuff. Arousal is a state of being. You can become aroused when you hear a sound in your house when it's dark at night and your eyes pop open, they start to dilate, your heart races, your mouth gets dry. That's arousal. Your body can go into states of arousal for lots and lots and lots of different reasons. But do you know what those reasons, when was the last time you felt one of those reasons naturally you even know? And oftentimes they have no idea. Going through the motion.
This is so good. You are so right in line with organic intelligence because the arousals also are like waking and sleeping. So
Yep.
waking, we're in arousal. Sleeping, we're in de-arousal. And then there are all of these cycles of ups and downs that go with that. And we
Mhm.
focus on the experience of the de-arousal states in particular. We just give them the colors: red, arousal; blue, de-arousal. And we focus in particular on the states of de-arousal exactly because of the things you're saying. We're so hyper activated that we're blowing through the natural rhythms of ups and downs. And like, if you've got a tablet in front of you at night, then you're putting light into your eyes and warping the natural cycles of ups and downs. And because do you know what one of the proven methods of working with insomnia is camping, going camping, because you're getting the natural cycles of light and dark, and your body is doing the arousal, de-arousal thing naturally. And so we talk about
Oh.
resyncing your psychology. In organic intelligence, we resync our psychology. Rather than going the mind and the psychology, we're actually looking at cycles of arousal and de-arousal, and the things that we've been talking about, like the head nodding, that's going to have an arousal and it's going to have a de-arousal. And when I feel good, I can then follow de-arousal and really establish the balance of that hyperactivity with the relaxation response.
Yes. Oh man. Yes. Preach it. I think that's so fascinating. I mean, it makes perfect sense when you explain that, but I don't suffer from insomnia. Therefore, I'm ignorant in those terms because that's not something that's been my experience. But it makes total sense that the circadian rhythms that go with natural camping, you can't escape it. And it's one of the things that I told. I was just having a conversation about people who get up really early, who are morning people, and versus people who like to stay up really late and can't get up in the morning and stuff. And it was like, yeah, there's different types of people in the world for sure. But one of the things is, I would say, back in the day, there may have been people who stayed up late. Maybe they went to pubs or taverns or whatever, and then they got up later because they stayed up too late, kind of a thing. But for the most part, the world started when the light came out and the sun came up, and the world kind of ended when the sun went down, unless you were walking around with a torch, depending on for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years.
Totally.
We just did it that way because that's the way the world worked. You couldn't see at night in the dark, and you couldn't, and it was freezing cold or dangerous or whatever, if predators were out. And then during the day, you can get the most productivity done. The animals were waking at the same time as you were. Like, it makes sense. And yet now we've got this sort of, for lack of a better term, forgive my language, but this bastardized sense of rhythm because the 24-hour world doesn't fit the same anymore. But if you look it up and do any research on the study of depressive episodes and depression in the brain, there is a significantly higher percentage of people that struggle with depression and depressive episodes that work graveyard shifts than there are people that work during the day and sleep at night.
Yes.
That's not an accident. It's hard to do. It's so it's more antisocial, not antisocial in the terms of like, society, but like you don't have people around, and we're social beings and animals, and we want camaraderie. We want other people. We're a pack animal. And so it kind of just lends itself to not being that usually. And then the other part is you're not with your family. You're not with the rest of the world. The businesses aren't open at night when you're trying to do your business and do things that you have to take care of. You feel isolated and you feel like you're not a part of the pack. And so there's so many pieces of this that are essential to the weird new world we're in, where the world never stops. They call New York the city that doesn't sleep. Well, that's true. Like, you go walk around in Times Square, you would not even know what time it is if the sun was down. And
Right.
that can get scary sometimes. You're all off balance and out of whack.
Totally. And there are mice studies, where they disturb the sleep patterns of mice like you would have with jet lag. They didn't lose long. I mean, it's really the thing that is dinging our system. And so, like, orientation and that calm you feel, that's the blue, that's the de-arousal, or like to feel like pleasurable easefulness in the body that helps us come down. And we find that over and over again. The body is always trying to bring us back into those rhythms because there are many of them. So there's the circadian rhythm. So that's the waking during the day, sleeping at night. There is called the basic rest and activity cycle. So there's about a 60-minute activity and then a 30-minute down period. And if you ride those things during the day, then you're going to be in better shape and better sync. So we encourage people to do all of those things. Like if you're having to work, like we probably do, in front of a screen, then let your eyes take a break. And it could be a micro break of just 10 seconds. And then we can bend pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that you hit the nail on the head right there, because balance and knowledge is power has been a thing forever, but it's the truth. If you just know where you're at and you check in with yourself, how am I doing? How am I feeling? I had a guest a couple of, I think sometime last year, that was talking about kids will tell you how they feel after they've been on a screen for 5 hours. Most of the time, these are the words you're going to hear. I feel tired. I'm frustrated. I'm hungry. I don't know. They feel more lethargic, and they think it's just from, like, it's normal. But you're a parent and you're watching and you go, wait, they haven't done anything in like 24 hours. They hung out all day after school yesterday. They stayed up late last night. They just sat around and did the pajama thing all day today. They haven't done anything but eat a couple times, and they're saying they're tired. They're not lying. It's being stolen from them, and their energy has been taken, and they actually are tired, and that should tell you something. But instead, just like you said, parents will drop the hammer. You're tired. I had to do this and this and this. You wouldn't be tired of blah, 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 blah. No. That's not going to help. And again, I'm preaching to the choir here because I'm guilty of it too. And we get caught up in our own world when we think that can't be real. But here's the reality. I was talking to my girlfriend recently and we were laughing. We were thinking, do you remember what age you were the first time you said, I'm tired? I said, I might have been 30. Like, I don't remember ever saying, I'm tired, I want to go lay down and take a nap, ever. As a child, for sure, no. In teenage years, never. In my early 20s, not a chance. Like, I could say after a long day of work, man, I'm exhausted, but it didn't come off with the same connotation. Now, children, little elementary school age children, the word I'm tired comes up all the time. And that is sad and it's terrifying because I don't think they're lying. It's something that they've learned to say. It's everywhere online. It's like a whole niche thing. It's like there's this emo type of side of like, I'm tired, man. Like, I'm so tired. I had to do all this stuff. But then there's this other piece where you're tired from your attention's been completely taken from you. Yeah. And it's taken all of that dopamine, all of your self-awareness, all of your systems and your cycles, and it's just taken it away. So, yeah, I bet you are tired.
My experience has been that young people are ready to engage. Give them a better option, and they'll choose it every time. I was working at a camp one summer, and we were doing a mindfulness exercise as a group of maybe a couple hundred high school students. And I'm like, okay, now we're going to go outside, and then we are going to pretend we are aliens. Like we have never been here before, and it's all completely new. And just let's go out there and experience things as if we were on like the planet for the first time. And I remember watching 200 students file out, and it was in the country, so into this open field, and just the wonder that they let themselves experience of the ordinary being right here in nature, and just letting their senses open. And young people, I think, and us all really, have an instinct for wonder and curiosity and interest. And it sounds like the programs that you're creating are catalyzing that interest and really helping people engage. Nobody's tired when they're interested. It's
God.
I am on this. I'm interested.
That's right. And you are 100% correct. Most kids are ready to go. They want to do it. You say, hey, I'm going to give you 2 hours of tablet time, or we can go outside and run around in the park. They're going to go to that park most of the time, almost every time. And because the tablet, they know exactly what they're going to get.
Yep.
But the park can be anything.
Yeah.
What kind of experience are we going to have at the park? Are we going to meet other people? Are there dogs out there? Are we going to climb a tree? Are we going to do? A lot of times they are ready for that, and they want us to take them there. And so I got to take some of my own medicine on that, because like I said, when we get busy, we'll just keep filling up our time day and night. And there's some reward to that too. Like, you have to know what you love and what you're good at, but you also have to remember when your cycles are out of whack, and it's a double-edged sword. So all of us can learn from it. Hey, go ahead.
I was just thinking that, the other thing that we work with in trauma in particular is what we call the freeze response. There's fight and flight, and then there's the physiology of freeze. And the freeze is associated with immobility. So the possum, like the North American marsupial, it's threatened and it just falls over, and it's in immobility, because a lot of predators won't attack something that's not like running or fighting. And so it goes into this freeze response. So we still have those kinds of responses. And there are folks for whom that response is more forward. In those instances, sometimes we have to do that resting or waiting for the response to end. So if there's just like this feeling of heaviness, I mean, you mentioned depression. This is really about that freeze response. And sometimes we have to wait a little bit. And what I recommend often is that people wait with that heaviness or with that stillness, with the eyes open, so that they get that orientation. And so they're waiting until the energy comes back. And right, for every down, there's an up. Every up, there's a down. And so if there is that heaviness, that tiredness, many times people feel like, oh, if I give in to that, I'll just be in that forever. And that's freezy business right there. But if we're able to like ride that wave down and go and find the pleasure in it, like, oh, this feels so good not to have to do anything right now, and they're cultivating the enjoyment of that, then in a moment, and it doesn't often take very long, they take a deep breath, and then they're coming back, and they come back up. And so sometimes you have to go down to come up, and freeze response and that kind of physiology is one of those instances where we do often go down and let that stillness be there, eyes open and enjoying the restfulness of it, and then coming back up.
Oh man, that's a great point. And you know what? While you were saying that, it made me think of, the other end of that area of anxiety, right? When you're stuck, when your amygdala is stuck in fight, flight, or freeze, it hasn't decided which one yet. It just knows something needs to be done, and it's worried, and it's constantly worried, and seeing the worst possible thing that could happen, and imagining all these things, and it won't slow down. It won't even get to freeze. And so I think the flip side of what you're saying, it's still the same. It works the same way. Wow. Naming it, slowing down, going, wow, my brain is really, really powerful and active right now. It is really trying to make sure that I am safe. And that is cool. It's working hard for me. And so now let me look around and think about this a little bit. I'm going to help it out. I'm going to consciously help my brain out a little bit. Am I safe right now? Yeah. Is there anything I'm late for right now? No. Do I have some things I got to take care of today? I do. If you slow that down and bring that into your conscious awareness, sometimes that makes a huge difference, because otherwise we're on autopilot just feeling all that stuff, and that'll be draining too. And so I think that with coaching like you guys do, one of the best parts about coaching is just how it, I love the word coaching, because therapy brings its own stigma with it. And of course, I'm a huge proponent. I love therapy and all that stuff. And who doesn't? If you're in this field, you understand the merit to it. But sometimes that means you must have a problem, right? Therefore, you need to go get help, right? And so coaching is such a cool way of looking at it, where it's like, what I really need is someone to remind me of how I can maybe recenter my focus on things and use all the tools I already have, all the things I can already do to their maximum potential by getting rid of some of these little pieces and then refocusing on some of these other areas. And that is so helpful. And it doesn't necessarily mean that something's wrong with you. It's just that the world's trying to take that stuff, and sometimes we need help.
Totally.
Let's work on that, And so I really appreciate all the steps you said today, because I agree with you. It is essential work that we need to be doing.
I hope that people will find their way to our website and find an organic intelligence coach. And one of the things that they might do, especially in like those more jacked up states, that is to actually walk, and as you're walking, name the things you're seeing. So when we're more jacked up, sometimes using that energy and motion and then pointing the mind in direction of the things that we're seeing and then just naming them. So we're feeding that into our systems and feeding our brain here and now information as we're walking, because that also sort of burns off some of that energy.
Yes, exactly. Where is your website? Tell us where we can find more information on this and what we can do to reach out.
We are Organic Intelligence, so we're at organicintelligence.org, that org. And we have a place where you can get help from an OI coach, which is just what you said. It's somebody just reminding you of what you know already. And it is not that there's something wrong. Our situation is problematic for sure. And then finding your way back to what's going to be really helpful. And that's within you, within each and every one of us. Organic Intelligence, ORG.
I'm such a fan of that name. I got to tell you, especially in the world of AI right now, I love the idea of OI, man. Give me that organic over artificial any day, and almost everybody would agree.
Amen. Yeah.
Depending on, you name the domain, give me the organic over artificial almost every single time. So that's a really clever and brilliant way to word that. So, well, Steve, I have had an incredible time talking to you today. I could talk with you for hours. It seems like we're on the same page here. We're going to be reaching out real soon so we could talk more and maybe even meet up in person sometime, since we're so close to one another. Do some work together as we get moving on this front. And so any last thing that I didn't get to mention or I didn't bring up, anything that you want people to know, whether it's a project you're working on or anything in particular, or just go to the website and let's talk in person kind of a deal?
Yeah, for sure, the website. And just that there is so much more cause for hope than despair. Many of our people come in with despair. They feel like they've tried everything. And then the miracle of this organism that we are begins to show itself. So whatever it is, don't give up. Come and continue to find places like here at Offline Expression and Organic Intelligence, and we'll find a solution.
I love it, man. Thank you so much. We will be talking real soon.
Great.
Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Chair.